Welcome back to the Zone In podcast. I'm Sam Palmer with jpmorgan Wealth Management. And on today's episode, Chase and Kayvon are talking to Jordan Chiles, an Olympic gymnastics medalist hailing from UCLA. In 2023, she received perfect tens on bars and floor, and in 2024, she will take her talents to Paris for an Olympic return. In this episode, we get an inside look at how the strongest foundation of financial literacy can start right at home, and we dive into her decision to attend college rather than focus on her professional career. Stay tuned through the entire episode because I'll dig a little deeper into the financial side of things and share some resources that might help you start building healthy habits of your own. And now, let's zone in.
Welcome back to the Zone In podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kayvon Thibodeau, former Oregon Duck and now New York Giant.
And I'm Chase Griffin, UCLA quarterback and two-time NIL Athlete of the Year. Jordan has been a member of the U.S. women's national team in gymnastics since 2013. She is also a silver medalist at the World Championships and an Olympian.
Jordan, welcome to the show. Before we zone in, could you tell us a little bit about your athletic career?
Thank you for having me here. Obviously, I am part of the 2020 Olympic team. I started when I was 6.5 years old, and I am 21 now, so that is a very long journey of mine. Throughout the time period of just everything that was going on with my life, I moved when I was 18 to Texas and decided to start my Olympic journey with Simone Biles and her coaches at World Champion Center. And then now I am a UCLA Bruin, which has been an amazing experience, and I go back and forth between the international side of gymnastics and college gymnastics.
Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Simone.
My relationship with Simone, oh my goodness, honestly, I don't think that could be any girl's dream. Honestly, it's just been an amazing experience having somebody that you've always looked up to, being so close to you, who encourages you, and everything that you've done is just an exciting feeling. Like every single time I see her or see her just like post on Instagram or something like that, I'm just like, wow, like that's somebody that I've always looked up to, and now we're like really close.
5 years ago, if someone told you that they'd be looking at you the same way you look at Simone Biles, would you have believed it?
No.
How would you say that feels now?
No.
How would you say that feels now, kind of being in that position?
Honestly, it's a blessing. And so knowing that people look at me in that way, how I looked up to Simone, is definitely a huge thing. It hits me in the heart every single time some little girl comes up to me and is like, oh my gosh, you inspired me. You had this amazing impact on me or something like that. And I'm just like, wow, like I get tears in my eyes. I'm so grateful every single time I hear it because of what I went through and everything. Like I just want others to understand, like you can do anything you put your mind to. Ever since I was little, I always told my parents that I never wanted to go pro. And so obviously the difference between pro and college, you become a pro athlete. I mean, I can put it as like a football player, they go to the NFL draft and all that stuff. So as a gymnast, you have to either choose pro or college. And so knowing that I was going to my number one school, I verbally committed when I was in 8th grade, and I had told everybody, I'm not going pro, I'm just going to go to college, because I wanted to experience that whole situation, being able to, find new friends, go to classes, enjoy your sport with other girls, and just have that team atmosphere that I never had before I moved to Texas. So it was just always something that I was just really excited for, and knowing that I was going to a D1 school was also an amazing thing because I felt like it meant something to me that I was wanted and not overlooked.
Could you take us back to a time when you first got into the gym and when you told yourself you want to become a gymnast?
The very first time I walked into the gym, my parents tricked me and said I wasn't getting a dog. So I would have to say, like, the first time that I ever was like, wow, I have the ability just to succeed with this was probably when I was 8 years old. It was right after I watched the 2008 Olympics, and I had told my parents, I want to go to the Olympics, but I didn't think it was going to be in gymnastics. I didn't know what sport it was going to be in. I just wanted to go to the Olympics and feel like, wow, I did something cool in this world. Like, it's going to be in history books. But then when I realized as I got older, by the age of 11 is when I realized, okay, I actually can do more with this. Not just the sport itself, but with the person I'm trying to be, the inspiration, the idol that girls look up to, the diverse part of everything, knowing that I'm African American. That's not normal in our sport. So just being able to really focus on that when I was 11 years old was definitely the eye opener for me, as in like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep going until I can't. Diversity is a huge thing. That's not just in our sport; it's in a lot of sports. But obviously, it's a common thing in gymnastics where you don't see a lot of African Americans, but you also it's not a thing. Like, people don't understand it because there is a certain shape we're supposed to be. Like, there's a lot of things that come into gymnastics itself. So knowing that I'm part of a platform that's trying to make it bigger in that realm of knowing you don't need that perfect body, you don't need to have your hair a certain way, you don't have to look a certain way, because if you're talented enough or you're gifted enough that you can pursue in what you want to do, then go for it. And so basically for me is like, when I was younger, I didn't know the difference between why I wasn't getting scored the same compared to everybody else. Until my mom had to tell me it's because of who you are, what your skin color is, what people look at you as. And so I had to learn that. And so being able to be that person to teach younger gymnasts to, yes, you can go out on the competition floor, wear your hair however you want to wear it, because you're embracing your beauty. And that's what I want, like, everybody to understand. Like, this sport is more about your beauty. It's more about your personality. It's more about you going out there and succeeding in what you want to do in your life when it comes to the aftermath. Not because you're an athlete, not because you're the greatest doing what you do. Like, it's all about your personality in yourself.
How does this theme of transcending the sport as a Black woman play into your decision to go to UCLA?
Well, the very first time I found out that there was diversity in UCLA itself, displaying that in a way and picking my school, I think, was something that I wanted to do. I really just kind of followed the footsteps of what would my mom do? Because yes, my mom's Latin, and she's somebody that I look up to. And for her to tell me so many times, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that, like, you have so many, like, little girls looking up to you, like, you got to embrace that. And so knowing that going to a college that already does that, and they already accept everybody for who they are and everything, was easier for me, because I was like, okay, I can show the world a little more and a little easier what I'm trying to do with this sport than in the pro world.
How has your journey in NIL, really through the Olympics with that exposure and now at UCLA, giving you vision on what you want to do for the rest of your life?
The NIL aspect of things, honestly, I feel like it's been pretty good. Knowing that I have UCLA gymnastics behind my back, obviously helping me with deals and interviews and everything that kind of comes along with being a student athlete. And then obviously, just being able to kind of look back on, like, the financial things and making sure that time management is okay and controlling how you want to set your goals. And that's what I've learned just being an NIL athlete and also a pro athlete, and also, like, having everything. Like, I basically work 3 jobs at this point. Like, and understanding that at a young age definitely makes me put a perspective into place. Like, okay, by the time I'm 25, what am I going to do? By the time I'm 30, what am I going to do? So I think that's what it's taught me in a way to understand, like, okay, obviously this is the amount I'm getting. Let's take a percentage of that and try to put it in your savings or something like that. So I kind of learn through the process of everything when I start, like, putting it all together. My family is very business oriented. My mom is a property managed owner, and so for her to learn that at a young age, she obviously taught us, my family, like, okay, this is what you have to do in order to, succeed bigger than what we've done as your parents. And so keeping that in mind, my dad actually taught me about the whole savings situation, because he told me, you know what, I wish I did this at your age, so I'm going to teach you how to do it now. And so I basically was just like, okay, I'm going to follow that. So I take a percentage of whatever I get from a contract or whatever, put it in my savings, and just keep doing that, because you obviously, yes, you can live off of your savings if you know how to put your savings together the right way.
I didn't want you to skip over that. I feel like that saving part was big, right? So when you talk about, starting off and when you first started getting this money coming in, if you could give us a little insight on what you did save, or what percentage that you could give, college, high school students coming into college or younger people, to give them a little understanding of how you learn savings.
It's funny that you asked that question, because my friend was actually asking me, how do you do what you do? Like, how do you save? How do you do this? I'm getting all this money. Like, I'm so excited when it comes in, but I just spend it just like that in a blink of an eye. And for me, I had to tell her, my parents taught me how to do this, right? Obviously, my dad, he showed me how to do. And I said, so take the percentage that you get, go like divide it by, I don't know, however you want to divide it by, whether it's 4 months, whether it's 6 months, whatever it is, take that amount and basically subtract it by like $500 or something, because you still obviously want to have that money in your checkings to where you still can obviously get your groceries, get your rent that you need to do and everything like that. And so by the time that I first did it after the Olympics, by the time in February, so I came back from the Olympics in August, time of 5 months, I was able to buy my first car.
So you would say before you even thought about spending, you paid yourself. I like to call it paying yourself.
Yeah.
Putting something away is
Yeah.
always going to be good in the long run.
Yes, basically that's what I did, because my goals and my dreams, obviously, like, people have those humongous things. Yes, they want mansions. Yes, they want 5 cars. Yes, they want the lifestyle that they see, like a Beyonce or a Jay-Z or a Rihanna or something like that. But it's like you have to understand the process of being able to put your money in the right spots that it needs to go. And I learned that from my mom, because I'm a sneakerhead. Like, I'm a huge sneakerhead. I will buy shoes every second I see them. But I always have to learn, I need to put my money in the right spot before I can just go out there and do all the things I want to do. Because I'm also a giver. I will just see somebody on the side of the street and be like, you deserve this. Here you go. I'm just going to give this to you. Like, that's just who I am.
If you got any extra pair of shoes, I'll take it. Always get something to me.
Hey, I got a lot of shoes. If you want it, you can take them. But that's just who I am as a person. So learning that aspect of like the whole savings and everything, I think it's really cool, because as a student athlete, I think that's one thing that students struggle with, is because, yes, they do see it and they don't know how to control it.
Here again, we're learning that having goals and setting a plan reduces financial stress and can allow you to spend on things you love without the guilt. For Jordan, it's sneakers. For me, it's music instruments and gear. I know I can splurge on these things because I have a clear plan and a strategy that gives me comfort about my financial future. Remember, it's never too late to get started. From online investing to working with an advisor, JPMorgan Wealth Management is ready to help you achieve your goals. Visit us at chase.com/zonein.
Jordan, you talked about how integral your family is in your success. And I think even beforehand, we were talking about how your sister does your makeup. You have another sister that does your sound PA. Who outside of your family helps you in your NIL journey?
I have a management team. It's called Select Management. They basically kind of were like people. So I obviously, you talk to people, your managements, you kind of
The team around you.
You try to figure out who you want. And it all comes down to the support aspect of things. I'm all about support. Like you said, my sisters are in my circle. My mom's my social media manager. My dad's my security guard. Like, they're all paid to what I asked them to do. And so knowing that they're part of that, I was able to finally be like, okay, with the management team, I wanted to feel like family. And so my management team was basically being able to look at you and be like, okay, I can vibe with you. I know you're going to trust me, and I know I can trust you, and I know you're going to support me in any way, shape, or form. So that's kind of how I got that management that feels like family. Like, I literally look at my agent, I'm just like, wow, like, you're like a second mom to me. Like, this is really cool, because she can understand maybe what I'm going through that day, or like really push on me to be like, okay, I know you're going through a tough time, but let's try to figure this out. With the whole deal situation, I honestly, when you have an agent, they obviously get a percentage of that, and they obviously, want the bigger contract, so then they get paid bigger and everything like that. So going with the deals, at first I was telling my mom about them. Like, okay, so what do I do with this? Like, what's gonna like help me? Like, what are they going to help me with in the long run? So, like, the first deal I got, I was like, okay, this is really cool. Like, I really like it. I really enjoyed it. And then obviously, you know, they came back with another one because they liked how I put myself out there. They liked my energy. They liked the atmosphere that I was coming out with. And so, you know, with the whole deals, I think it honestly just comes down to what you want your long term to be. What's your purpose on why you want to do that deal? I like to like understand the connection that they have. For instance, I did a deal with a clothing brand and I was trying to figure out what did they want to imply when it comes to my sport. Like they had told me there was the beauty, there was the empowerment, there was how powerful I was. And so knowing that, I was just like, wow, that's crazy. Like I really enjoy this. Like this is really cool. And so that's kind of how I look at my deals in that way because I just want to make sure this is something that's going to be a purpose, not so much oh, this is all money. Like that's not how I see it.
Jordan, so you've been able to see marketing or NIL from both perspectives, whether it being, tied to a college or being independent in the pro space. So my question is, where do you see the difference? Right? Were there more companies that wanted to work with you now that you're alongside of college, or being independent and being a professional? Did that bring more deals?
I think for me, it was kind of half and half. There's more, obviously, because it's like when I come to college, I'm only here for 6 months before I go back into the international pro side. So with that 6-month time frame, obviously, like my management team is trying to get me those deals. Maybe it's with, a drink company or, a shoe company or whatever it is. So, but it's like dealing with UCLA in a way. It could be like a Leo company. It just depends. But then obviously on the pro side, it's like the bigger deals or, you never know what can happen. But seeing eye to eye, like just from seeing how like my teammates get deals, obviously I know the difference because it comes down to like the worth of everything, and like how when I am here, obviously I kind of do have a different perspective on why I'm here compared to my teammates.
For UCLA, I think the football team has a pretty good culture as far as supporting each other. I definitely think that the women's sports in general support each other better than the men's sports, whether it be on social media engagement or even just big upping each other. It might just be part of the culture, but I definitely see that with the women's teams, you see more team-wide deals. And I think brands feel more comfortable doing that because women support each other better. And I think that's interesting as far as the equity and empowerment opportunity that NIL is. Sports like gymnastics, sports like swimming, sports like softball have had team success in the NIL space. And Jordan is a great example of that. I think no matter what sport Jordan's in, she's, a star, so she's going to get those types of deals. But being in a space where, like, I watched y'all's floor routines and y'all are cheering like crazy, doing the floor routines for y'all. And having that support system around you, that peer-to-peer support, is so important, especially because every single time you do a brand deal, the brand is asking, all right, how many people are watching this? How many people are sharing this? If people on the team just shared those, I think athletes would see a lot more success with their posts.
I think it just all comes down to the fact, like, we aren't doing a head-to-head sport. We don't kick a ball. We don't throw a ball. We don't do golf. We don't do any of that. It's more of the fact that we have the ability because ours is more mental. Ours is more that mental health, that mental and physical. We have to throw our bodies around and all that. And so we support each other in that way of asking, how are you today? How's your mental? And so that's kind of what we do. But when it comes to the social media aspect of things, we post each other 24/7, whether it's like a floor routine or a new skill or something like that. And so like Chase was saying, like the more we do that, the more our engagement is going to go up because more people are seeing it. And we are like, as UCLA Gymnastics, I believe we're like the #1 social media team in all gymnastics because it's just like what our management does for UCLA Gymnastics. That's how the girls are able to get their deals. Like we had a new freshman come in and she was just like, oh my gosh, I got my first deal. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting because like seeing their enjoyment, seeing their awe, seeing their like what they were coming here for actually happen makes us be like, okay, like let's go for it. Let's see how this all turns out. Let's see what your next 4 years is going to look like. So I think that's kind of how that support aspect comes in.
How inspiring that Jordan, at the age of 11, was breaking down barriers, as being an African American in her sport was not the norm. At JPMorgan Chase, we are also committed to breaking down barriers. We're committed to leading with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we're committed to drive inclusive economic growth all over the world. To find out more, visit us at chase.com/zonein.
Now, Jordan, you alluded to the importance of mental health, not just with your branding, obviously, but also with day-to-day performance. And I remember talking with Miss Val, who taught one of my classes, and she was talking about, like you said, how important the mental side of it is. Because, in gymnastics, a lot of y'all have already reached your primes before you've gotten to college.
Exactly.
How do you make sure you keep your mental right? That way you're able to perform every single meet.
I think I'm still learning that. I'm still young. I still have the ability to learn more. Obviously, yes, I could speak about it because of what I've gone through as a younger athlete and how I've grown through that to the age I am now. But when it comes to the mental aspect of things, I think we have to all look back to the fact that it's always been a thing, but since it's such a huge topic now, everybody's acting on it. And I think that's what's so frustrating to me is because you still have younger athletes who are still going through what they're going, and yet they're just now hearing about how to fix it or what to do or, just putting their mind in the right space. So I now say, you know what? If you need help, talk to somebody. I know it's hard. I know it may be hard. It was a hard thing for me when I first was able to speak to a psychologist and everything like that, because it's just like I'm about to tell this person my whole entire life and I don't even know them. But it's maybe better to do that because they're not going to judge you. They're not going to do anything like that. They're just going to look at you and let you do what you need to do and speak your mind. And so that's kind of where I just tell people, when I came to my mental health training, I was like, I'm going to talk to somebody, and then I'm going to make sure whatever I tell them or whatever they imply to me, I'm going to use that in my daily life. I'm going to look in the mirror and tell myself, you're beautiful. I'm going to walk down the street and be like, hey, how are you doing? Instead of keeping my emotions inside of me. So that's kind of how it came all about and understanding my mental health for myself.
When I think about the excellent transitions from college gymnastics to professional life, I think of Caitlin Ohashi. I think of, Nia Dennis. I think of what you're about to do. What do you see as next for you as far as the categories you go into after college?
Obviously, after college, as gymnasts, we kind of decide whether or not we're going to stick to the sport or not. Because obviously, we've been in it our whole lives, basically. So it's kind of hard for some athletes to step away from something they've been with for so long. So for me, obviously, I'm just going to let the world figure it out. I want to become a real estate agent. That's what I wouldn't really do. Because I think it's really cool just seeing how people can put their thought and efforts into something so beautiful that people are going to be able to figure out their whole life into. And so seeing that and being able to do that, that's kind of what I want to do. That's what I love to see. It's how I get the joy from it, just seeing other people succeed. But obviously, I'm just going to see where life takes me, whether it's teaching kids how to do flips or giving advice to kids in the hospitals or, giving back to charities or, just helping out the foundations of a lot of things or, even doing podcasts or whatever it is. I just want to be able to say when I leave the earth, I was able to leave an impact in every single area that I know I'm dedicated to.
So I know impact is a big part of your story. Could you give us a little advice on, budgeting, saving, and everything that you've had to kind of grow and learn over the time?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, that would be an amazing thing to do. Like I said, I did learn it at a young age, and I'm still learning it. So being able, I think, to give the advice that my parents gave me to the younger generation would be an amazing thing. I mean, if anything, I'd probably do like a seminar or, something like a meet and greet and kind of explain to everybody like what I went through when I first started getting money. And so I think it'd be really cool to have that ability to kind of figure out how do you save, like what have your parents taught you in a way, obviously get the responses and everything like that. So
I think it's really important to touch on. You talked about how your family, you've empowered your family to help you and to be around you, and being in a professional industry or being at the collegiate level, there are a lot of big brands and a lot of big companies who want to kind of separate you from what you've known. Right. So I think it's powerful that you've been able to keep your same team, keep that level of comfort, where you wanted it. Can you also touch on how you were able to, use the power of discernment when talking to these different, whether it be agents or managers or things like that? Like, what did you see was most important before you started to make decisions and put people in positions of power?
I think it came down to trust. I am very, I like to trust people in a way. Like, I'm about to have somebody like an accountant or, an attorney, a lawyer, trust with my money. And that's obviously the biggest thing that could ever happen when it comes to having a team. So the first thing I look into is, who can you look at and be like, okay, I'm going to give you these 3 suggestions. If you choose the right suggestion, then obviously I'm going to feel comfortable. Say it's like, here's something corny. It's
You kind of use like a mental test.
The mental test. Like, what are you gonna go for? Like, are you gonna pick up the fork and put it in the toaster? Or are you gonna, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just how I see things, because that's something that I want to be able to look back on and be like, I was able to trust somebody my whole entire career, and now look where I'm at.
What are some key things when dealing with money that you learned at an early age that you still use to this day? We know savings one of them.
Funny story is, I really didn't do any chores when I was little. I was basically like spoiled, very spoiled.
Very.
Like, my sister they always tell me, you were just so spoiled and this, that, and the other and all this stuff. And I was like, that's not my fault. Like, I'm trying to tell you that's not my fault. But obviously, like, seeing what they did with their money when they got from doing chores and everything like that, and putting them in envelopes and saving up. Like, my sister wanted to become, at first she wanted to become a lawyer, and then she was like, you know what? No, I feel like God's calling me to become an esthetician and all this stuff. And so seeing her have those dreams at a young age and her saving up to open up her own salon kind of helped me in a way, because I was like, if they're doing this now and I can look up to that, then I'll be able to do that in the long run, because that's what they did and that's what I saw. And yes, I didn't do chores or anything, but just seeing that, their eye and how they were saving, and, oh yes, I need to save this much up because mom and dad told us we're going to the mall this weekend, or we're getting ice cream. And so just being able to see that was what made me like do what I do now.
Jordan, you talked about how great it was growing up and seeing good spending habits from your own family. And we talked about beforehand how eventually you're going to have kids of your own. How special is it going to feel that you're able to share these same money habits with your children?
I think it's going to be really cool, because I can say, you know what, I've learned these lessons ever since I was little, and so I want to teach you the same ways. And I think being able just to have them look at their grandparents and just be like, wow, you taught my mom how to do this. Like, I want to do this. It's all about that inspiration. It's all about your heroes, your idols, and everything like that. So being able to say something to my kids that I've gotten taught ever since I was little, I think is always going to be an amazing thing. I mean, I think it also comes down to, obviously we're talking about money, but it also comes down to the way they look, the way that they're going to walk into a school and what may happen or may not happen, the way they're going to drive a car, the way it all comes down to what you were taught in your early ages. And being able to teach that to your kids, I think, is an amazing thing, because they'll be able to go into their life saying, yeah, to their children, like, yeah, your grandparents taught me this, and it's always going to be an amazing train.
Jordan, before we let you go, I just wanted to ask you one last thing, and it's about women in sports. There's a long-going conversation that there needs to be equal pay in sports, and now that young men and women are able to make money at the collegiate level, what information do you have for these young girls who are maybe scared, or maybe feel like they might not get as much money, or may feel like they might not reach the level that you're at or that Simone Biles is at, because there isn't that much money out there?
Obviously, a lot of people know already that there is a huge impact on whether or not why men and women don't get paid the same way. And that's always been a thing with me, because I'm like, I don't hit a runner back all the time. Like, I'm not a head-to-head contact. I don't kick a ball. I don't shoot a basket from a three-point line. Like, that's not what I do. But I do also have I have an impact as well. when it comes to that, as being a woman, as being somebody of color and everything like that. So I think, honestly, I feel like it's changing. I feel like it's changing in a way. So I'm hoping that the generation under us, like whether it's a girl or a boy, because at this point I feel like the levels are going to balance out here pretty soon, because people are going to realize women are as great as men, and men don't always have to dominate, because that's not something that this world needs to see. They're always going to be very equal, or, obviously there may be something that's a little more in one or the other, but they're going to be able to come together and be equal. And so that's how I see it, and being able just to understand that and have the world know everybody's going to be okay in this world, whether it's money-wise, whether it's, your house-wise or income or whatever. Like, it's like your hobbies, your habits, whatever you do, like, it's all going to become equal in a way. And I think that's going to be an amazing thing, because now we're not going to have where people are like, oh, you're sexist, or oh, you're being feminine, or everything like that, because that's not how everybody sees it. I always tell everybody in general, like I've told adults this, like, always believe in the power of your dreams. It's a quote that I've said ever since I was little. I'm the one who actually made the quote, actually. And it's just, whenever I think of that, it's just, your dreams are so powerful that you can exude and persuade and just have the ability to put your puzzle pieces in the way you want them. And your dream is just going to explode into something that's more dynamic than putting a cherry on top of an ice cream cone. And so that's what
You gotta kill it. You gotta drop the mic on it. Drop it.
That's just how I see it. And that's why everything around me just kind of evolves, and people get so attached, because they're just like, you exude and you have this energy that you give off. And so that's just how I see my life, and I put everything together.
That's all for today. I want to give a big thank you to Jordan for giving us a little peek inside of her life. I'm Kayvon Thibodeau.
And I'm Chase Griffin.
And this is Zone In, where we aim to take you from a student today to big time tomorrow.
The drive and passion that Jordan exudes when it comes to managing her money is very inspiring. At 19, it's incredible to see her not only building wealth for herself, but for her family and community as well. We need to talk more about financial equity, not just in sports, but in every aspect where we can reduce the wealth gap. It's amazing to see these student athletes taking the initiative to promote financial stability and to build equity. We at JPMorgan are aligned with their approach, and we're committed to breaking down barriers to lead with diversity, equity, and inclusion. To learn more, visit us at chase.com/zonein. Tune in to the Zone In podcast next week, where we'll be joined by Trevel Gaines, founder of Grand Sports Management, and by Michelle Meyer, founder of the NIL Network, to discuss the importance of building a team and personal branding.
It's really interesting because the team is so important, right? To put good people around you, people that you trust and that are part of that inner circle. And I think that's one of the things that, we're at San Diego State and working with the athletes there. It's hard to put that team together if you're not, top of the line athlete that's going to get these massive, 5-6 figure type endorsement deals.